Cool. So as I told, like for the guys which just come. So I'm Pulkit Gupta. I have a total experience of 7.2 years. I have been working with Talentica since last 3.5 years, managing a team of DevOps engineers. Okay. Welcome all of you to this meetup. So this is the agenda of today's meeting. CodeDeploy, why we should use CodeDeploy, okay? Its benefit, types of deployment, how do we configure deployment, okay? And its integration, the most important part, its integration with Git and Jenkins. I think most of you must be familiar with Git and Jenkins and its demo and discussion. So as per introduction, few of you are aware of AWS and okay. So it's quite simple. It does not require you should have much knowledge of AWS and all these things. CodeDeploy is pretty simple, and we will see. What is CodeDeploy? CodeDeploy is a service that enables developer to automate the deployment. What we do in our current scenario, okay? If we have like more than 100 servers in production environment, then it's really a tough task for developer and for the operation and even for a DevOps guy to do a deployment on all those servers, okay? We might use some kind of tools like Omni or any other tool to do a parallel deployment. We can use Fabric or Chef, etc. But there are a lot of manual work involved in that, in the deployment. Okay, so AWS comes with a very handy and very cool feature which is called CodeDeploy. So in this deployment, we don't have to do any manual work. Everything is taken care by CodeDeploy. Okay. Yes, because it is a feature provided by AWS, so we can do the deployment on EC2 instances.
Is it paid service?
No, it is free of cost service. And on-premises instances, we can integrate other instances which are not in AWS, but it has a $0.02 per instance. Okay. So these are the benefits. Automated deployment, as I told, we don't have to worry about any manual work during the deployment. It minimizes downtime. Like we can do the downtime in our live production environment. Okay. Rolling update across multiple instances. As I just told, we can do the deployment in single click on over the more than 100 or any number of instances. We can track the health, and we can also do the rollback in case of any error happen. Then we can immediately do the rollback. Okay, we have the centralized control. It is a very good web and CLI console for status tracking. Like we have n number of instances, then one by one we can track the deployment progress. We can also see the reports, and it is very easy. It can be integrated with any of the application, and even the setup which we do, we can reuse anytime. So these are the benefit. Cost, there is no additional cost for EC2 instances. So this is the typical deployment flow. Okay. So first of all, code deployment, we do the deployment on our local machine. Okay, we upload that content on GitHub or maybe AWS S3 bucket. All are aware of S3. Okay, it is again which are new to AWS. It is a feature of AWS which provide the storage. Okay, So our this code deploy, what code deploy do? It simply has the management logic, and it deploy to all the EC2 instances and the auto scaling group as well. Okay, like this. We deploy content on our local machine and a specific app spec file. We call it application specific file. I will give you the demonstration on all the format of that app spec file. It is the most important file in the code deployment. Okay, we bundle, as I just told, we bundle our content with the app spec file and create an archive file and upload it to the S3 bucket and GitHub repository. Okay, this archive file is called the application revision. Second thing, like this, in this area, code deploy. AWS code deploy provide deployment like S3 and GitHub to pull revision from, where we have to pull that our code and we have to deploy on all our EC2 instances. Set of EC2 instances called deployment group. Okay, like here we can see this deployment group. Deploy will content plus fspec file. It will get uploaded to S3 and it will get deployed on this on these EC2 instances. Code deploy agent is need to be installed on each EC2 instances. Okay. Code deploy agent is nothing but like a plugin, we can say, which talk to this our central code deploy service of AWS. Okay. Finally, the AWS code deploy agent on each instance pull the target revision from S3 bucket or GitHub repository. So in this way, this code deploy works in this flow. The main component of code deploy, application. Application is a set of deployment group and like collection of setting where our application can be deployed. So we configure, we create application from AWS console. Deployment configuration, set up AWS deployment rules and deployment success and failure condition used by AWS code deploy. So this is a deployment configuration. Deployment group, set of individual instances. First we create an application, we associate deployment group under that application. Yeah.
Let's see how we actually do, like there is a seat environment is there, then U8 environment, other environments are there. Okay, so when you code deploy, the deployment happens. So these are the environments where the deployment happens. So if you are saying instances, does that mean is SIT or U8 or these are the things you are saying?
No, as per deployment, like as I said, deployment group. So we can create a different environment like staging, production, testing environment. Under one application, we can create these type of environment, and we can associate different instances. All the production boxes, production servers will go to that particular deployment group. All the staging servers will go to that second deployment group, which may be called a staging group.
Servers like production one group and this.
We are separating. We are right.
You are separating those groups.
Yes.
Different.
So that first we can deploy on staging server. First testing developer can do a testing. Then same we can deploy our code in a staging environment, and in the final stage we can deploy on a production deployment.
So these are all instances.
No, this is a group. Instances will be under this group.
Okay.
Okay. I will show you in the demo. Group like deployment group, staging deployment group, it will name as a staging, and all the servers which comes under staging group will be associated with this group. Got it?
Regarding storage, like, is it mandatory to store the data in S3 bucket? We can't store it in EBS or other storage type.
EBS, we cannot store an EBS because EBS associated with any of the AWS EC2 instance, right? You cannot directly pull data from EBS unless it is associated with any of the EC2 instance.
DBT works with the code repositories that you use, so
GitHub or S3.
But S3 we are generally using for static content only.
But you can keep the packages, you can
use
version control in that also.
Yeah, we can keep, but generally the use of S3 is storing the S3.
But the
You can use GitHub if you have to manage version and all these things. So for the static content, you can use S3.
Is there any way to connect with TFAs at the AWS? TFAs is not supported. Is there any way?
As of now, I'm not aware of it. Okay. Okay. So there are two deployment type: in-place deployment and blue-green deployment. In-place deployment. So application on each instance in this deployment group is stopped. Latest revision will be installed. Then application again started. So this is in-place deployment. Okay, we can also use a load balancer if we don't want to downtime of our application. And another is this blue-green deployment. What we do in this separate replacement boxes gets launched, and the deployment, first deployment takes place on that replacement environment, and again after the deployment, those replacement boxes will get registered to your ELB or HA proxy. So in this way, our production deployment, there is no downtime in blue-green deployment. Okay, so just go through these like I have explained it. Instances, instance and deployment group are replaced by different set of instances. For example, we have 3 boxes, 3 servers, and we have to do the deployment on those 3 servers. So and those 3 servers are behind ELB, Elastic Load Balancers. So before the deployment, we have to boot 3 more boxes. Okay, and those new 3 boxes, we can say are replacement boxes. Deployment first will be done on those replacement boxes, and these replacement boxes now will get registered with ELB, and earlier boxes will get deregistered. So
in this case, it will increase our cost in
yes,
deployment.
yes,
Because we have to register new instance.
correct. So we can use spot fleet as well in this case if we are if cost is a matter. We can use a spot fleet. Okay, so there are 5 simple steps to work with code deploy. Create IAM roles, create AWS instances, install code deploy agent on those instances, prepare the application, the code deploy application and the deployment group, configure code deploy on console. So these are the steps in which we can simply set up code deploy, and we can start our deployment. So how do we create IAM roles? So this is the console, AWS console. I have logged in. I will go to the services IAM, identity access management. I have already created these roles. We have to go to IAM and roles. I have attached this policy, AWS code deploy role. So this is the inline policy provided by AWS. Like attach policy. AWS code deploy. So we can simply attach this policy to a IAM role. Okay.
So what does this policy include? Is it like code analyzer and all this?
It simply gives our application the access to access the AWS code deploy. Okay. This is one. We will create two policies: one for code deploy to talk to EC2 instances, and other for EC2 instances to access S3. So that first policy, our AWS instances can access AWS code deploy. Second, they can access S3.
IAM is mandatory.
Yes, IAM is mandatory.
Without IAM, BIOS includes access.
It is mandatory because you can have your root credential, but it is not safe, and for the security concern, we should always use IAM roles, so that your keys and other things cannot be used or cannot be shared any on the public platform. Okay.
But we can do it without IAM.
You can use, but it is mandatory to use IAM policies for the security purpose. Okay, so I have just created this IAM role, which is called AWS. I have just given the name is AWS code deploy. This is the format of that policy. The second role, which I have just told, we need to create a role to give S3 access. AWS S3 read-only access. If we use from the super user, then all the S3, anyone can access all the content of our S3. So in this policy, I have given allow get and list. Only anyone can see, and anyone can list out all the data. No modification can be done. So these two roles I have just created. Okay. Now we have to create AWS instances, and we need to install code deploy agent on these instances. Okay. I will go to EC2 dashboard. I have these code deploy 1 and 2. I will launch a new instance on which I have to do the deployment. Instance type, number of instances, all these network VPC, IAM role. So now I have to give this code deploy EC2 so that this EC2 instance can talk to code deploy. Add storage, 8 GB root volume. Now I have to give the tag name. Code deploy demo 4. Security group, code deploy security group. Review and launch. The key pair, I will select this key pair, launch instances. This new box is getting launched. For those who are new to AWS, so it is a section of EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud on AWS. So in simple steps, in 3-4 steps, we have just launched a new server. Okay. This is up now. I will log into this server and install a code deploy agent on it. I will use putty and the key pair, which default user for AWS instances is EC2 user. Now we have logged in. So instance is up. We have given a IAM role. We have set to IAM role. Third step is to install code deploy agent. So as per the reason, we have download link available. Okay, so if as our instances is on US East 1, so we have defined this region. We will give this executable permission of this script install and code deploy agent has been installed. Code deploy agent is running. It's pretty simple. Okay. Now I will install a Apache server on it. Simple yum install httpd. Okay, so Apache has been installed. Okay, I think Apache service is stopped on it. Yes, I started that service. When I browse it from public IP, it will give me a test page of Apache. Okay, now we will do a deployment using a code deploy on this newly created instance. So till now we have covered 3 steps. Code deploy agent also keeps a record of deployment so that we can track all these status, deployment, configuration, parameter, and all these things. It also creates all the logs under OPT code deploy agent folder. where log AWS code deploy folder, and logs are automatically get rotated after 7 days. The fourth step is preparation of app spec file. So this is the important step, application specific. It is a YAML file. So the section of YAML file are version by default 0.0. AWS keeps it for their future use. OS, as per our OS, we can provide Linux, Windows. Files, source and destination, we will provide the path of the files, and accordingly permission, hooks, entry point for executing a script before install and after install. So there are two types. So this is the format of appspec.yaml file. So this is pretty simple. We just give the file which we have to deploy before install and after install. Before install, like before deployment, the steps we have to perform, like if we have to take any backup before installation, and after installation if we have to do a sanity check whether our deployment gets succeeded or any error log is not there. So we can put all our script in that. As I have just installed Apache server, so for a very basic example, what I will do, I will copy a index.html file to that where www HTML folder. So I have given this source index.html. Simply I have just written one line hello world in that HTML file, and destination I have given. Before install, nothing. Before install, I've like mentioned in this. Before install, if any other pre-defined HTML file, it will delete that file, and it will copy my newly created file from this source folder, and after install restart server. Once that file will get copied, it will restart Apache server. Okay. After install, service HTTP restart. So these I have already explained. The 5 section of app spec file: version, OS, files, permission, and hooks. Hooks, a specific script to run at a specific deployment lifecycle events. Yeah, we can validate app spec file with the help of any. Yeah, please. You can sit here. Okay, so we can validate app spec file with the help of this any online YAML parser. So for the latecomers, I will again give you a short introduction. So, okay, so this is the agenda of today's topic, today's meetup. AWS CodeDeploy, its benefit, deployment type, and deployment configuration, its integration with Git and Jenkins, and demonstration. Okay, so till now we have covered all these points. The deployment flow, its benefits, the main component of CodeDeploy, the deployment types, and these are the 5 important steps to configure a code deploy. So we are going through one by one. We have created 2 IAM role, one for code deploy access, another for S3 AWS, so that our EC2 instance can access S3. And second, we have just created a new AWS instance. We have installed code deploy agent on that. Third step we have just completed. Now we will prepare the application, and we will configure code deploy on console. Yeah. Yes. This is code deploy security group. So I have just opened the security like port for this office IP. This is the office IP.
You mentioned the 0 to 65535 range as well as
No, we don't have to mention, but this is our security group on which we have to like I have opened this for our office IP only. We should not open all group for any other like our home IP or any other IP address.
I'm saying AWS CodeDeploy agent will need referral port to talk to EC2 instance.
No, no.
The CP port or whatever service that is running for
Correct.
application, we have to.
Correct. If you are running any Tomcat, if you are running Jenkins, then 8018, any port which our application is using, that port only required, and port 22 for SSH access. That's it. Okay. So we have installed, we have deployed our new EC2 instance. We have installed Apache on it. Now we will configure application services. We will go to this code deploy section. Application. So we will create a new application. Application name. Production. Deployment group. Production group. Okay. And the deployment type, we will select in place deployment. And the EC2 instances. Okay. Key and value. So the tag which we have just defined, we can select that tag. So we have 4 instances. These 4 instances we have, and we can select this code deploy demo 4, the name which we have just provided. Okay. Now we have just created an application. We created a deployment group. We associated this instance to that particular deployment group. Now the deployment configuration. Code deploy provides us 3 types of deployment configuration. 1 at a time, all at a time, half at a time. So this looks pretty simple, but if we are using like bulk number of instances, for example, more than 500 instances we are using for the deployment purpose, then it is a very important feature. Half at a time, it is not advisable to do a deployment on all the instances. So we can select all half at a time, or we can, if there are more than like 10-12 instances, we can also schedule 1 at a time. So it will do the deployment accordingly. Now we can also create trigger based on success or failure of our deployment. We can create trigger, and we can also create a CloudWatch alarms.
From where we can create the deployment configurations? Suppose if I have the 15 servers, I want to deploy on 3 one. So can I do that?
Yes, you can create. You can add all those servers with this based on tag. Like we have 20 servers. Out of 20, we have 10 production server, 5 staging, and 5 or test servers. Okay. So first 10 servers, you should give a tag of prod servers, and another 5 you should give a tag of staging server and the test servers. So based on your tags, all related instances will be associated with a particular group.
So every time I need to tag the instances specifically, like suppose every 3 instances, then 5 instances, again 7 instances if I want to deploy like in the bulk. So before that I need to tag those instances and then need to
Correct.
So every time during the deployment I need to do all this?
No, not every time. You can,
because next time suppose my another product release, so that time I may need to have the 5 servers and then again 5 servers.
So based on this, like you should have your like we can at the time of deployment, we can simply put a user data which will automatically create tag according to your box type, your server type. If it is a production, you are going to deploy with the help of auto scaling or any other automatic algorithm. If you are going to launch 50 servers, and you are sure like those are production servers, so in user data or in like bootstrap script, you can automatically define a simple CLI commands is there to create tag, to associate a tag on AWS instances. So based on that tag, your instances will get launched. So once this application get created, it will automatically fetch that data. Not every time you have to put those detail in this deployment group.
Basically, tags are important for the
Correct. Because AWS fetch instance details based on tag only. Okay, so we can create triggers and alarms and service role. The role we just created to access the S3. Two roles we have created to access EC2 and now code deploy, so that our this application can access code deploy. Now create application. This our application has been created, and this is production deployment group. Now we have to deploy index.html file, which I have just told you. Okay, so this is our code, simple. Index.html file is there. appspec.yaml. This file is there. Source, destination is this. Before install and after install. And I have given this before install steps here. Before install, like as PPT I've just shown you, before install it will simply remove if any other index.html file is present, and after install it will simply restart the server. Service HTTP restart. Okay. Now I will put my application to my code to S3. I will upload. S3 management console. So I have already uploaded this file, AWS CodeDeploy master.zip. We can simply AWS auto deploy master. This upload. Okay, 15th April. It has been uploaded to S3. Now Now we have to start the deployment. Deploy new revision. Revision, just our code we just created. So application name, it is already selected, production application. Deployment group is production deployment group. Revision type, my application is stored in S3 or GitHub. So we will see both two example. First we will store this application on S3. So we will give path of, yes, one more thing, our deployment should be, all the deployment files should be stored in .zip, tar or any other format so that it can be fetched in one go on from the S3. So I have given this S3 path. We just updated it, GMT. We can production deployment, we can provide the description. Now the configuration one at a time. Okay. Application stop lifecycle event failure. So if we have multiple number of instances, then we can schedule don't fail the deployment to an instance if this lifecycle event on the instance fail. For example, if it gets failed on one instance, then it will continue to be deployed on another instances. And rollback configuration. For now, I have disabled the rollback. In case of any error occurs, we can simply roll back our applications. Okay. Now deploy. Like this, a deployment ID will get created. No, AWS is not managing any backup.
So when we enable rollback, what exactly happens?
Okay, I will show you. Fine. So updated. Deployment has been completed and its status has succeeded. Fine. So we will see what exactly happened here. We will click on this deployment ID. View events. So all these steps have been performed. Application stop, download bundle, before install, after install, application stored, validation. So all these steps quickly completed by code deploy service, and all these are succeeded. Okay, now we will see that this test page, whether our new index.html file have been deployed or not. Deployment has been done. So in simply 5 steps we have done the deployment. Okay, now we have to add more instances on our deployment group. This production app we have created. So we can simply edit this group, and based on this, now what I will do, I will tag EC2 instances. So I will simply provide the tag, add tag, code deploy, key value same, save, instance 2, tag, code deploy, and our third instance. This is one-time activity. We can also automate it when our box gets launched, and it will have a predefined tag. Okay, now we have given a same tag to all these 3 instances. Now here we will these 3 instances are there: key, code deploy. Now I have to do the deployment on all these 3 instances. So we will simply save this application. Okay. Deploy new revision. Now we will see the deployment will our code will fetch from GitHub. My application is stored in. Earlier we have seen this application is stored on S3. Now on GitHub. So connect to GitHub. So this is my GitHub account, and I have already uploaded this AWS auto deploy repo on it. What I will do, like this, index.html file. I will simply give this path, repo path, in our application. Fine. And commit ID, the latest commit. This commit ID. Yes, rollback configuration. We can configure rollback option that apply to on this deployment. Rollback when a code deployment fails, and rollback when alarm threshold or not met. So like you are asking, so we will simply before install steps, we can simply create a backup. Like simple cp command we can use of that index.html file, and once application gets failed, it will it will roll back that original backup file. AWS will not take any backup. We have to just define an application specific file. Right, in that YAML file. So before install steps, like this, before install hook. So we will simply create this cp command, and we can create a backup of that YAML index.html file. No.
From the backup to the original. That way, specified somewhere, right?
After install hook, you can define. After install, you can define. You have to copy. You have to override your backup file to your new file. Again, you can define in this, and
I would check it myself. No, I mean, just trying for what is that option in the even if I do not click on those options in the after install, if I have to write it in the after install, does that mean that I have to check the status of the deployment in the after install and restore it from the backup myself? I mean, how does that option in AWS screen?
Okay.
I mean, what is triggered when this one is actually set? Does it mean there is a separate hook for rollback? I mean, if you are saying that I have to do it in the after install loop myself,
right,
by checking the status, then this check has no meaning. I mean, what does it mean to disable rollback? Or what does it mean to enable rollback?
So that's basically what it means. Basically, disable rollback means whatever the rollback, whatever the hooks that you have provided, and before this is after install, that will execute as it is. Means whatever the aspects file that you have created before install and after install, that hooks will execute if you disable this rollback. If you enable this rollback, whatever it is deployment frames of threshold and all those things, it will not look for that hooks that you have defined. AWS managed all those deployment by their flow. If it is failed, it will roll back to the original condition. If you see there, you can configure rollback option to apply onto this deployment. The rollback option you select here are used instead of those configured for the deployment. That means it will not look for your hooks if it is failed. If you select this and if it is failed, it will not look for your hooks. You will simply put your codes or whatever the deployment that you
original source file.
Your original destination, original source actually.
So from where you will find the whole code, because if
Aspects file. You have to define, right? You have to define before so you have to define what is your source and what is your destination. Right?
that is my new source and
There is a new source.
No, that is not your new source. Source that you are providing here, right? Whatever the source that you are providing, right? That is there, right? Suppose your source is something, let's say index.html. Okay, and your destination should be var HTML, right? The source is there in index.html. Suppose in case it is speaking of index.html, but it is not finding the var, whatever the directory you have. So what AWS will do, it will take that index.html, it will not find the destination, right? So it will fail that deployment, and it will keep that source file as it is to the source. That is define your YAML file.
This is an example where the folder was not found. Let's say the folder was found and it actually overwrote that file with the new file integrated. And the server fails to start.
Override actually, the override condition you have to define in the hooks actually. That is the one thing that AWS does not mind. That is actually lacking. I must say that's true. Override condition in AWS CodeDeploy is not defining hooks condition.
Yeah. What is the second option? Rollback when alarm thresholds are met. This means my deployment has succeeded. My services are up, but there is something wrong that my code is
You can see your deployment succeeded, but your services are not
services
like
are not working
that.
fine.
Yeah, that is
okay. So in that case, this option means that whatever files had to be overwritten have already been overwritten, and now it is not working fine. So when I check this option, what happened?
Alarms means like we can if we have done a deployment and its CPU load exceptionally went high, like so that alarm threshold are met, and then it will roll back.
Yes, what does it do?
In terms of cloud formation, if you see, right, at least you know cloud formation, right? When you roll back, it will simply delete all those instances that the cloud formation template has created, right? But here it is actually the totally different concept. What you are actually meaning is that if we select the rollback option, does it mean it will actually override all those things that we have created in terms of our deployment, and it will keep our source as it is, or destination as it is, right? That is what you are doing, right? Let's say our file it is take and override on the destination.
Right.
If the deployment fails as per our condition, does it again rewrite those files and again keep it as it is? That means your source should be same, the destination should be same. That is what you mean.
Should be what was there.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. The rewrite condition or the override condition that you are saying is not supported as of now in AWS CodeDeploy.
Possibly this is only relevant when I'm doing Go.
Yeah, that is what. And if you want to override the specific condition, that you have to define that thing in hooks file. In that condition, you have to disable the rollback.
That means basically everything is manual.
As of now, it is yeah.
Okay. So this time we will see the deployment from GitHub repo. I have given the repo name, commit ID, and I will do the deployment. Okay. Zero of 3 instances. Now we will see this. All these 3 instances in progress, pending. Succeeded. In the meantime, I'm having the public IP of all those instances in progress, and like deployment has been done on this first instance. Second, I have this IP. Again, done on this as well. Third one. The public IP of third instance is this. Done. So all these 3 instances deployment has been done. Okay, so in this way we have deployed our code, our application on these single instances, on multiple instances, and from S3 location, and next one is from GitHub. Fine. Now we will see how we can trigger this deployment from Jenkins. I will open my Jenkins instance. This. Fine. I will create. I have already created this project for Jenkins. I will show you what I have written in this. Simple a rollout project. I have given this repo, source code management, Git. It will take code from Git, and it will, in last, I have given the post build action. I have integrated a code deployment, AWS code deploy plugin with Jenkins. I have given this application name, deployment group name, and config, reason, and S3 bucket. Okay, so what it will do, it will simply fetch code from GitHub. It will upload that, it will create that zip file. It will upload that content to AWS S3, and it will trigger that code deploy event. Fine. So keys, access, and secret key I have given, and this. So I can change here this application name, the application which we have just created. Prod application. I will create a new project, Jenkins project. I will name it source code management Git. git repo. This is my credential. So I have placed the GitHub repo and credential. Now in the last section, post build action. Deploy an application to AWS CodeDeploy. We will select this option. Now we will put this prod app, prod group config. We can say all at once or region US East 1. S3 bucket name is this, CodeDeploy meetup. Prefix nothing. Subdirectory include, we can also specify if we have to include or exclude any specific file, or we have to exclude log files, all these things, and access and secret keys. All these things will be, I will trash all these things once meetup gets completed. Okay, so project prod. 3 instances are there, and build now. Like this. Console output started. It has been finished. Now we will see a new deployment group must have created. In our production app. .640 GMT time and 6:39. So this 6:39 succeeded. Deployment has been completed, and it is like a new revision has been uploaded. This 6:39. So in this way, we can trigger CodeDeploy event from Jenkins as well. Now, third and the important one option, how we can schedule auto deploy from GitHub. Right? For example, we have committed something on our repo, and we want it should automatically get deployed to our instances. Right? There is no manual work. Jenkins not required. Simply we will upload or we will commit anything on GitHub. It will get deployed to AWS CodeDeploy.
Can you directly deploy from code commit also?
Yes, we can.
But I didn't see the option here. I saw only 2 options, S3 and GitHub.
Oh, code commit we cannot. We can only 2 location is there: GitHub or S3 as of now, because.
Code commit also chooses one in S3. Okay.
Okay, so the last option, integration with auto deploy with GitHub. So I will go to this repo settings. Here Integration and services. These are two services which need to be added for auto deploy from GitHub. Add service, just select that, because I have already added, that is why it is not showing that. So I will add it and I will show you what I have mentioned in this AWS code deploy service. Okay, so this is our IAM role which we need to create to enable GitHub to access code deploy. So this is a simple policy. We can simply copy and paste this. So allow code deploy, and we just need to ensure to put the correct zone, and this account ID and this application name. Account ID, application name, and last account ID and this group, deployment group. So I will show you the policy here. Application name and last application name and deployment group. So all these things we have to fill it out, and we have to create a new IAM role for it. Now we have to simply fill these detail: application name, staging, access key, reason, API not required, access and secret, GitHub token, right? We will generate this GitHub token. In this section, personal access tokens in GitHub section, account and token description. So in repo status and repo deployment, we just access commit status, access deployment status, and when we click here, it will generate a simple token. Just like this GitHub token I have already generated and I have copied it here. GitHub token. Now that token we need to put GitHub token and update service. So this service, integration of this service, and another GitHub auto deployment. This service need to be added, and simply we have to give our environment like deployment group name, deployment group staging. So this service we have to define, and in this I have mentioned application name, code deploy demo, and deployment group staging. Fine. So we will see what exactly in that application. This application name, code deploy demo, group name is staging. So we will see how many instances are there in that particular group. Only one instance is there. Okay. So we will now I have added 3 instances in this application. Everything is same. I will just save it. Succeeded. Fine. So I will now commit something on my GitHub, and we will see whether it gets deployed automatically. I will make change in this index.html file. commit change. Then I have updated this text in index.html. We will see whether deployment, new deployment, in progress, right? Deployment has been started. We can see here this in progress succeeded. So we have not triggered actually code deploy event. GitHub has triggered this event. Now it has been succeeded on all the instances. So this instance we will see whether deployment has been completed. So the public IP of this instance text updated. So these are the three ways we can manually trigger code deploy. We can trigger it from Jenkins. We can integrate with Jenkins. And third option is most useful, automatically triggered by GitHub. So yes, custom hooks, we can create custom scripts under hooks before install and after install. Template would be same. We can
Before install and after install, these are predefined.
Predefined by AWS.
Create the new hooks basically.
We can not create, we can like as per our requirement, we can mention all the script deployment, pre-deployment, post-deployment steps in that under those hooks, because it is a template of AWS.
If we talk about the auto deployment part, so most of the time deployment fails, and that time we want to have the recovery codes. So those recovery codes we can specify in the custom hooks basically, and we can call those custom hooks when the triggers like the deployment failure trigger happens. So in that thing we can use those. Is there any kind of facility, like, because we have every options like custom hooks?
So for that purpose, for example, in GitHub, so we can we just seen the deployment from Jenkins, where we have mentioned the commit ID, right? So we know the latest commit ID where our actual deployment is, gets present. So in case of failure of any of the event, we can trigger any another Jenkins event in which the actual commit ID would be there. So there is no need to do anything on the app-spec file, and it will simply trigger that another event when we have to roll back our code.
That kind of feature could have been provided in the code deploy itself, because there was option to have the rollback.
Right.
So we are anyhow triggering the different CloudWatch alarm over there.
Correct.
And we are getting identified that or something is gone wrong, right?
Right.
So in that section we could have provided the webhooks, right?
Correct.
So which could have been copied our previous codes to certain another location and keep the recovery things.
Right. Still in
the code deploy in the production or any other.
What I feel is like using code. We're not using code deploy because it's specific to AWS and we're not using AWS. We were using similar kind of scripts, Ansible scripts for it.
If certain thing goes wrong, so you again redeploy.
Yeah, so basically what we do is like for last couple of deployments, we would be storing at multiple messages. kind of standard. If everything fails, we just take out the latest thing and just. But this specifically works if like if all things are our whatever we are copying, right? And our scripts which is taking back our let's say database and all. If that is fine, then only it works. To roll back and all this.
Most of the features are available in the code deploy, but this is the main important feature, I think, because if most of the time it happens that the deployment is getting failed. So that time we need to have the recovery codes. If another tools are providing such kind of things, so that's good.
There is a VMC tool is there, server automation.
Okay.
That's called blade logic. Blade logic. Because that is one of the tools which currently are this version. And they have such features. If any of the deployment fails, let's say someone had mentioned deployment streams and all. So let's say it doesn't build. And after deployment, and they say that this is not there. So they will roll back immediately. And that to 75 years like that.
Okay.
So they roll back. And there are some certain critical situations. I will tell you one situations. Your Windows services where you a lot of DLLs are there. Okay. So you are deploying all those stuff. Okay. So DLL and all. So you have something you have updated. Okay. So and you are deploying all those DLL. There is no application. So confirmation steps and all. You cannot see what will happen after deployment. What has happened before deployment. It's a Windows services. Okay. So in that case, just as a confirmation, just only date modified will be there, or certain logs will be generated. If in case when end-to-end scenario runs and let's say some error happens, so what happens? There is a weak this blade logic tool. It will what it will do. It will keep all those records they have. They roll back at that time. They take the backup or something like that. I don't know. Because pre-deployment and post-deployment is there. So they have those tapes. Okay. So they check in that.
So these are all critical. Windows actually provide that kind of service now. So whenever you install any application, it takes the snapshot basically. If certain thing in normal Windows database, so that things also happen in on server.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this is about blade logic. This is BMC or server automation.
Mostly for the Windows.
Yes.
And also the TFS again it's a strong tool. Regarding this, what you have shown now, this code deployment, you just the moment you commit your code and then it gets deployed to that. We have done that automation. So in case of anything goes wrong and it got deployed to the SIT, of course there is no sanity happening deployed to the SIT.
No, but from when we do the deployment.
Just a moment. What I'm saying is that though there is a version is here associated with that.
Right.
Okay. And what I want to say is that no one had proved the version. Means manual version you have not given. Let's say you are into 32 release and you are working on the 32 release and you have committed the code. Okay. And now what happens was this version auto created. Right. So in case if you will roll back, you have to know what is the latest one here.
Right.
Right. But in case of TF, version name 32.000. So in case of let's say code deployment happened in the SIT and something the tester said that some happens. So you have to roll back or some. So you have to what will happen? You will have to deploy the earlier version 31. So likewise, there is a version control we can just deploy that. But here we have to check what is the.
No, we can create a file and we can also integrate for the large scale deployment. We can also integrate a build server, okay, in between our Jenkins and Git server. For example, in our project, we have our inbuilt Git server, GitLab installed, and we have a build server. We call it build server. So it simply fetch data. Jenkins server fetch data from GitLab. It create build on build server it creates all those record of all the like latest revision, previous revision, and what we do, we copy code with the that revision ID, latest revision ID, and all these instances, all the boxes on which we do the deployment. So one text file gets created, and it simply match with the last revision, whether it is there. And in case of rollback, we can simply trigger another event. Right. So it will deploy that. So we don't have to like manually note it down and all these things. And in Jenkins as well, we can customize. I've shown you a very simple example. We can customize where it returns the actual commit, actual deployment ID, and that the git commit ID. In Jenkins itself, we can it creates those logs.
Yeah, I saw that this deployment template is there.
Right. And the things which you are telling about, though it is risky auto deployment from GitHub, but what we can do first, we can trigger that on our staging environment. CodeDeploy provide us the facility of having different environment. So it's better to test auto deploy on our staging deployment, not on production deployment.
One of the good things that you can.
Sorry, I would like to add something here. Like everyone's saying that if it fails. So what I have seen with my projects is whenever we are doing auto deployment, we have a Selenium test case in place,
Right.
which gives the result. If it fails, it will automatically roll back. Because
Right.
if you are going for auto deployment, you need to have some test
Correct,
code already
correct.
in place.
What in our
So basically not in terms of the code failure, in terms of the infrastructure metrics like CPU utilization, memory consumption, that things goes. So that time we need to roll back. So
no, it code deploy actually code.
It's about the confusion between the operation team and the development
Right.
team. We are not talking about the application,
definitely before
it's all about the operation team who's managing all this deployment and all. So we are talking about that, and the
Right.
development or testing and on another side, there is always a friction. Oh, we have done our code, there is a
Correct.
dispute, everything run, but all of a sudden deployment fail. Again, there is a friction.
So CodeDeploy also provides a feature in which it only deploy our code on the healthy instance. What we call healthy instance. If Apache is not working, if error logs is there, if CPU. So all these things in our project, what we did all these before install sanity check we have done. Like we also record the CPU load of our instance, because we have more than 200 instances in our production environment. All those boxes have Nginx installed on it. So before installation, what we do as a sanity check, we capture the CPU load, memory uses, and even the error logs of Nginx and access log. If any code, how many errors are in last 2 minutes before deployment, and after deployment hook, we compare all these things, whether CPU load after deployment, whether CPU load has increased drastically. So we will compare. Only full sanity check we will initiate the deployment. Else it will skip that box and it will go through another box. We are already using this feature in our production environment.
Let's suggest that if you compare automatic rollback, it redeploys the last successful deployment. Is there a list where I can see last successful deployment?
It is showing on the screen. List of revisions, right? The location, the one he was pointing with the time, the current time, latest one, latest one. So it contains all those last revisions. The only problems comes with if the migration has been applied to your database, then things will not
Only the
work.
rollback.
But if it's totally
But it also has a cleanup script that you can actually apparently have. Before it actually deploys the last successful deployment, you can configure a cleanup which says how to clean up whatever was possibly done. In that case, I mean, obviously rollback is not so
You
straightforward.
can see all the revisions,
All the
informations are there, right?
So how does the cleanup script will work for database? What are the best cases?
I just saw that there is a cleanup script. Obviously, the cleanup script will really depend on your application.
So in case of failures, basically you can switch back to the previous code
Right.
regarding the code. What happens in cases of database?
How we can
In case of database, just want to add this. In case of database, also I'm talking about again, I'm working for Blade Logic too. So there is a script we generate. Okay, Okay, so let's say you have new SP or there is some modification in the SP, or you introduce a new table into the database. So you have to generate the script for that. Okay, so again, here this is again. I'm sorry, I'm getting
It's okay.
So here we have to compare and we create the script. Okay, so if it's a new SP, you have to provide the permission also, right, to execute and all. So whatever. So all those are mentioned in the script. And now when you will be deploying it, again you have this version is also there. Okay. So in grid logic, there is a release. It will go through development and then deploy and then release. So if everything is happening successfully, then this script file or whichever the code file, okay. So it will be in the release box. So the release management team will come and they will just run in the different environment.
You're talking about the idle situation.
No,
Everything is set up.
in case of even if failure happens, so let's say your script doesn't run in the DB58 or DB60 or whatever the instance is. If it doesn't run in the natural environment, I mean to say that in pre-prod environment or somewhere. So if it doesn't run, then they will rollback that. So you have again the rollback script also there. So there are two scripts created. One is rollback script and one is the deployment script. So in TFS, so these two scripts always go, and then they will execute in that for DB perspective.
Actually, I'm asking what happens in the rollback script in cases of database failures.
No, that is not all. So there are two scripts you are creating. So one script will be your new changes, new modifications will be, and another script will have the older one. Let's say
SQL dump.
yeah. Let's say there is a new SP you have written in the previous instances you don't have that new SP. Okay, so when you are creating the script, the new the deployment script will have that SP, and the older script have the delete one. If it is there, then it will delete. So it will be created in that way. If exists, delete it or something like that. So in that way they will roll with. They will execute it. You got it right.
So
There are two different
database downtime or what it happens instead, or there is downtime to get the database service.
There are chances to take
Yeah,
the downtime at
they do
because
it.
we are doing the database changes, schema
Schema
are
changes, yeah.
so we need to be conscious that our old application should be up and running with the new schema structure. And if certain like in 10 server you are doing the new deployments, 5 are already done successfully, but next 3 are not doing. So that doesn't mean that you need to roll back your database changes because already 5 servers are running good. So it depends on your application strategy.
It's better. What I will suggest is better practice. It doesn't mean that it's running on one server and another server is not. It will create confusion. So what they do is that roll back whole of stuff. So that so they will roll back all the stuff because they don't want to make it run for a particular server. So they roll back it. So but the downtime related stuff, they actually they usually do it when there is a low peak time. I mean to say that at night or night 24 or something like that. Because at that time,
For live applications, you cannot afford even 1 second downtime.
yeah,
Database is down.
yeah, they do it. Of course,
Is there database service switching? I mean, for the time being, does it point to some other database?
No, they don't do that.
There is only a single database instance.
No, there are multiple database instances of wait for a particular they have their own infrastructure. How they should handle. So,
Where you have to plan it such way that your deployments they are somewhat transferred. For example, adding a new concept, sometimes also depending on what you're doing, that needs to have a default value. So your application should not be that dependent on it. For example, if you do it on Oracle, it can take a library cache lock and get stuck and blah, blah, blah. You have to plan your release and plan your rollback in such a way that there is no universal rule.
There are a lot of, before deployment, before going to live, a lot of meeting happens in also. On which time they will go deploy, how was the criticalness of this deployment. So they decide on that. Just with the stakeholders and with the team,
because there are a lot of things.
So the best practice is to like for the deployment, first we have to test on a deployment group, maybe call a staging or testing deployment group. Then we should proceed for the production deployment group.
Yes. Using our Jenkins and Git server in our local office environment. At that time, is it possible to deploy code by using AWS code?
You can use the S3 location.
Is it possible to fetch our local environment code?
You are saying that you are using the local Git server, right?
Our Git server is in our local environment.
Yes, you can use. That's what we are doing in our project. Git server is locally hosted, not locally, like in our cloud environment, in our AWS account. Locally, private IP, then you have to set up all that environment locally. Jenkins local setup is required, but code deploy, how it will trigger from Jenkins? It's actually not possible.
But if your Jenkins and Git server is on AWS cloud, at that time is it possible?
Yes.
Even if you're not using GitHub, there are lots of other options like Rapid.dk. You can write some scripts, small using Python, and you can fetch the code from anywhere, like say that any server or at your local machine, and you can do all the steps that you're doing in a code deploy.
Whatever setup is there on the servers, GitHub, Jenkins, you can replicate at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we are using root account, not IAM, at that time, is there any need to write the IAM policies for GitHub?
It's never like
You can always use your main access key and secret key, which is not at all recommended. Right. Because AWS has very strict checks. Once, unfortunately, one of my colleague has put secret and access key on his personal GitHub account. Then, in the very next day, we got a message from AWS. Immediately remove those key from that public GitHub account, else we will suspend your account, complete account, AWS account, in which we have more than 1,000 servers. So this is a very practical case we just had last 6 months ago, and we had to change all the secret and access key on all the production servers.
If you're an administrator, if you have access to everything, all this goes for
Right. And now recently, 2-3 months back, AWS has provided a very good option. We can associate IAM roles on existing running AWS instances, EC2 instances. Earlier, only new instances, we were able to associate IAM roles and policies. Right. Starting from the AWS, and they came up with this solution. Yes, we can. I have also written a blog on this blog.talentica.com for one-click deployment. You can go through it. This is the link, and I have I have mentioned all the details, benefit, and all these things, deployment, all these things we have given. I will also share this presentation on our meetup group, and we can have this. This session has been recorded, so we will upload its video to YouTube. So all those who have missed it, they can attend it. Okay, thank you. Any other question if you have?
This is a little off topic. ask like what kind of AWS instances, what are the best practices for AWS instances, right? So we basically have some K2 large instances, and we are
actually it depends on our requirement. Okay, there is nothing like best practices. It depends on our requirement. For like we have a database server in which we want faster read write operation, higher IO, right? IO operation. And another thing, so we should use that type of instances, memory optimized and IO optimized instances, SSD based instances. And if my database, one of in our production environment, I have my database around database size around 2 TB. So we cannot use M size of instance, T micro instances. So in which we are using I2.2x large instance and I2.4x large instances. Okay, and if your application is not at all related to our memory, like normal our staging code is there, in which it will not utilize nothing, web server is not there, database not there, you are simply using for your testing purpose. So you can use T2.micro instance. Yes, another limitation is for some this T2.micro and other instances are only they will get launched in VPC only. Or no, other instances like you can launch in EC2 Classic as well.
How does the auto scaling and 1 year or 2 year subscription to your instance consumption reducing the cost?
Yes, so AWS provides 3 types of subscription. Like we call it reserve instances. Okay, so first is normal on-demand prices. You pay what you use. Second, you reserve your instances for 1 year, for 3 year. Okay, so in that also partial you can say there's partial upfront and full upfront. You and if you select partial upfront, then it cost will get reduced by 50%. $1 if our on-demand price $1 is there, then partial upfront for 1 year you will get $50.5. And if you select for full upfront, you will then it will again reduce cost to 1/3, $0.25 charge will you have to pay.
So what's the disadvantage of
Disadvantage of full upfront? There is no
one-to-one interaction would be good enough. So
yes, so there is no disadvantage. It is if we have requirement of 1,000 servers for 1 year. I know that my application minimum require 1,000 servers. So we can simply go for the full upfront. That's one thing we have to pay like in one go, all the amount in one go. Partial upfront you can pay partially to AWS. The main advantage, the cost will get reduced by 1/4.
I have one question regarding Elastic Beanstalk.
Okay.
So can you guys just close this auto deploy thing and you can discuss it because the rest are waiting actually.
Yes. And one thing, snacks is already there in canteen, so please have it. So we can continue discussion one-to-one.
Yeah, you were asking about the the costing thing.
Yeah.
So basically, it depends on the kind of instances you are reserving. Basically.
Thank you so much, all of you, for attending this session.
We have the.
So basically, right now I'm like